All right, welcome. It's time for us on the desk to look at issues from four squares of the desk and giving you very balanced analysis of all the big stories making the rounds across the globe and in Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria. My name is Anthony Momodu. Welcome to today's edition that promises to be mind-blowing as we look at very salient issues making the rounds. On today's edition, I've got two guests in the live studios. To my far left is Jerome in Nigeria, and will be giving us very balanced analysis of all the stories we'll be looking at. Thank you for making it to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we also have got Issa Aliyu Shatta, a public affairs analyst, a money man, I call him, also in the studio to help us look at various issues making the round, also a political analyst. Sir, always a pleasure to have you in the studios.
The pleasure is always mine.
All right, let's begin. The talking point from today happens to be the 7th day of August 2024, and indeed is a very important day for the United Nations Day, known as the Breastfeeding Week, and how monitoring breastfeeding policies and programs creates accountability, empowers change. The World Breastfeeding Week is held every 1st to 7th of August of every year, and UNICEF and the World Health Organization and many ministries of health and civil society are partners there to celebrate this, as breastfeeding is one of the effective ways to ensure child health and survival. Yet currently, fewer than half of the infants under 6 months old are exclusively breastfed. In 2018, the World Health Organization resolution endorsed today to be celebrated. And we know that breastfeeding is essential for child survival and health. Gentlemen, I know as parents, this is a very important issue. Let's keep from the human angle. Do you hardship and other factors? This is something that more mothers should be encouraged to, and probably the economic situation will be a blessing in disguise.
I don't know about the economic situation being a blessing in disguise, because the woman has to be healthy. Of course,
true.
She has to be healthy before she can breastfeed. She has to eat, of course, before she can breastfeed, and those nutritious food are very essential for the kids as well, because they boost the child's immune system. They also, develop some essential brains activities that is needed in a child to grow, right? And once that happens, and the mother is well, equipped with those natural nutrients that is required for the growth of both the mother and the child, then you will see of course the output after 6 months. Like you said, for those of us that are parents, we can actually see the advantages, of exclusive breastfeeding, which is very, very encouraged, because you will even see it in the development of your child, how they respond to you, what their growth, metrics is, and you can also calculate how they develop their, growing their teeth or their tooth, as the case may be. And don't also forget that breastfeeding also serves more or less like another immunization for the child, because it's immune them against other diseases, that ordinarily you cannot, get drugs out there to cure.
Just to get a quick one, can we say the government of Nigeria, based on the hardship they've put the people and the protests going on, where we saw breastfeeding mothers also join the protests, has shown the insensitivity of the government? Mr. Jerome.
All the benefits of breastfeeding is not lost on anybody. We know the importance. But the thing is that, looking at the situation of the country as it is today, one may be tempted to ask how breastfeeding mothers cope in a country that is ravaged by hunger and their earth's hopelessness. Like my colleague said, a mother has to eat first, because it is what goes into the mother that is eventually transmitted to the child in the form of breast milk. Where do we start from? In a state like ours, where hopelessness reigns supreme. So, well, you talked about 2018 global average of 18% of exclusive breastfeeding. We can only bring it nearer home 6 years later in 2024, where the average will be, or what it look like. But most importantly, bringing it nearer home to Nigeria, where we are presently. A person that cannot feed more than once in a day, that is for those people that are privileged to eat at all. Where will the person start from? To exclusively breastfeed. Because when we talk of exclusive breastfeeding, we are talking about a child not fed on any other thing, but exclusively on the mother's breast milk. It's a very difficult task for mothers in Nigeria today.
So that's a very bleak future for Nigerian children looking at the future, and that's the message we want to pass to Mr. President and the entire cabinet. Let's move on to the U.S. elections, where Kamala Harris picks team was for VP. And we know that President Kamala Harris has chosen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate in the November presidential election. Harris will face off against Republican ex-President Donald Trump. Let's look at that issue playing out. Do you think that puts the Democrat in good light against Donald Trump?
Yeah, well, I think I would see it as a compact team. Right, because if you look at Harris, you know, Kamala is a very outspoken woman. She's a very experienced woman, and if you look through her career growth, you will know that she has been well branded, you know, to emerge as, of course, a formidable candidate and potentially even the first female black president we will have, you know, in the U.S. And with the support of her vice, if you look at his own antecedent as well, you know, he has always criticized the Republicans, and he has done that also very, very strategically, you know, given the fact that from his own antecedents, the right wings are the people that he has always given jives, you know, against. And with that, they also need somebody who can complement, you know, the CV or the resume of Kamala. So if you look at the combination of those two, I think they're a compact team and they can knock out any opposition.
Jerome, looking at Trump and his very harsh way of attacking the female gender, do you think Kamala would have the competence, the calmness to take whatever Trump is going to be throwing at her, knowing that Trump will try to get her on the edge?
Sincerely speaking, the thing is that we are all excited, like it was in 2008 when Obama was the first black person to be on top of a major political party's ticket in the United States. That appears to be what is playing out now. But you have to remember that in the United States, the past always comes to haunt the present. And both Kamala and her choice for vice are not immune to that. Kamala was a liberal that never disguised where she stood on issues, especially even as an attorney, defending very vehemently people that were against pro-choice positions. Now you are talking about the governor of Minnesota, who has been proved to have enacted and signed into law abortion and abortion-related legal instruments that even allow termination of pregnancy, even at the 8th month or 9th, to the extent that we are talking about things like born alive. I mean, abortion-related practices up to the 9th month, when the child was children were even born alive, and some of them were not even given any care at all. So it is an uphill task for them against pro-choice proponents in the United States. But as black people here, well, we are excited that a black woman, though she is not from Africa in any way, that a black woman is on top of the ticket of the Democratic Party. But I have my fears because I've watched the momentum that came with her emergence after the flurry of endorsements that came after she was adopted by Biden, the principal. Flurry of endorsements from Obama, from Clinton's, and so on and so forth. Even with that momentum, as we are speaking now, you look at the 7 states that will be most contested. They call them battleground states. Trump still has an edge over her. And I'm wondering what it will be when the honeymoon is over. Because they have not even started interrogating issues. They are just celebrating that, Biden did well by adopting
do you think Trump is smarter than Kamala in terms of when it comes to a war of words, debating issues? Because she was the first to say, "Oh, I'm ready for a debate."
Yeah, I think if you look at it, right, like I said, strategically, and if you look at her CV antecedent, you will know that she's somebody who is very, very strategic.
And she's got data on Trump.
Trump is just Trump is a controversial human being, and everybody knows him to be very controversial, right? And conservative at that. But you see, Kamala is going to come with. That's why a lot of people said if that debate had taken place with Kamala Harris would have given
him.
You
don't agree?
Yeah. And we know that will still happen, anyways, because now that she's at the ballot, she's representing the Democrat. I see, because even Trump himself is scared right now. If they had gone, all or not to have the election with Joe Biden, it would have been a walk in the past. But he knows now that he has a lot of work to do. There is an equivalent task, and he's trying to see how he can dig deep to dive into some of the things my colleague have said, to use it as a campaigning tool, which I think might not hold water because of the psychology of the American citizen. They think differently, and they can actually apportion some of these abortion rights, to suit certain circumstances, most especially if they are traumatized with rape activities and all of that. So they probably might, situate it into that, aspect. But I feel that if you look at what is happening, even the public opinion poll, as I think last week, is giving Kamala Harris, I think, a bit of 54 to 55% chance of winning from what they have been, doing.
No, you see, though this is basically American domestic politics, but I will like us to take a second look at something. You see, the Americans, like I said, whatever may be the role you played in the past, will come to haunt you whenever you are going for public office. Apart from the issues of abortion and abortion-related matters, you take a second look at the issue of the debate that the woman appears to be celebrating. Don't forget that it was a debate that was scheduled between Biden and Trump in 2 Democratic-leaning stations like CNN and ABC. Trump agreed to them for whatever reason. Maybe he believed that Biden was an easy pick. That of CNN had happened, and that is what consumed Biden's candidacy. And that of ABC on the 4th of September, that is to come between Trump and Biden. Suddenly, Kamala is now on top of the ticket. And Trump is saying, no, initially there was nothing like a debate between me and you. So we have to reschedule. And of course, the woman, that's why I said she has to tread carefully. Because whatever you say, like the Nigerian police will say, will be used against you in the court of law. In the euphoria of saying that, yes, the 4th of September has been set for debate, and Trump was saying no, he said, look, I am prepared to debate Trump anywhere, anyhow.
All right.
And Trump said, okay, I'm prepared to take on you in the Fox debate. But this time, there will be audience, and the microphones will not be muted, because those are the things that were agreed with Biden. Okay, I'm prepared to debate you, but we'll be with Fox, but the microphones will not be muted, and there will be audience. And the woman is saying, no, on that day I will be going to ABC to do the debate whether you come or not. That's why I say she has to be very careful, because in the euphoria of what is happening, one may say things that may come to haunt him or her moving forward.
All right, we'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, the program The Desk continues. Please stay with us. Is The Desk on Global Television.
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan, because
that this country gets it right.
who are these bandits?
It's The Desk on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on The Desk. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on The Desk.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching The Desk on Global Television. We're still looking at salient issues making the rounds from the global scene. United States of American elections. Let's move on to Nigeria, where the People's Democratic Party State Executive Committee in Benue has ratified the suspension of former Governor Samuel Ortom and 3 others for anti-party activities. The SEC, comprising the State Working Committee, state assistant officials and local government area party chairman, affirmed the suspension of Ortom and 3 others at an emergency meeting of the party at its state secretariat in Makurdi. They also passed a vote of confidence on the state working committee led by the party state chairman, John Ngbede. These men learned that the suspension of the former Governor Ortom by SEC was received with relief by a wide spectrum of members in the state. It is believed that Ortom's open support for a rival political party caused his party's loss in the general elections. Ortom, one of the arrowheads of the G5 governors in the country, directed his supporters to vote for the Labour Party in all elections. Are we seeing more divide in this party, talking about Ortom's party, the PDP?
What happened to Ortom in Benue State is long overdue.
Why? Why do you say
Because I do think that when you go into an association, willingly donating yourself for membership of such an association that has rules, you must be bound by those rules. What happened in the build-up to the 2023 general elections was rascality at its best. And if these people are saying that they suspended Ortom for anti-party activities, if I were there, I would have told them to add for bringing the state and its position to disrepute. Because I cannot understand, up till today, how a sitting governor of a state will practically become an errand boy to another state governor. In Nigeria, I mean, Ortom at a point practically relocated to Port Harcourt. And every morning, Wike will be doing one thing or the other, and you see him, Wike will be singing the chorus of something, and Ortom will be picking the refrain. Out of 5, the so-called 5G5 governors, Ortom was the most subservient of all of them to Wike. So beyond anti-party activities, he brought the dignity of that office. He rubbed it in the mud.
But did Wike do anything far less than him? Is he not part of? Okay.
I was going to actually.
Yeah, I wanted you to interject.
No,
Yeah,
I was actually going to say that. You see, they say all animals are equal, but other animals are more equal than others. The truth is, the same crime, that Autumn committed, Wike committed 20 or 30 times more than those crimes, right? And let me be honest with you. You see, the Nigerian politics is very funny. As the leader of the party in the state, would have been able to probably shield him or protect him from these, shenanigans that I see. Wike is there. Wike is not only doing anti-party, Wike is serving in the opposition party. And yet, Wike is still a card-carrying member of PDP. So what are we talking about? So if somebody like that can be exhibiting such, can be even benefiting from such benevolence, Autumn felt he too could actually benefit from such, right? So what I just feel what I feel that is happening is the party itself needs a bit of restructuring, and the party needs what I call emergency surgery, because they are not compact enough to even serve as an opposition to the current ruling party. And that's the reason why you are seeing all of these, hula baloo around the protests and the rest. And they're even, chickening out to say they are not, involved in the protests. Where previously, opposition party like the current opposition party we have, then it was ACN, right? They boldly came out, to protest against the removal of fuel subsidy. And I will just tell you that, unfortunately, Autumn is just a child of necessity.
No, but I do think that Autumn was suspended by his state executive committee, not the national.
Yes.
Okay.
And Wike will have his own day in court. Moving forward. No. I will tell you, based on experience, unlike Autumn, Wike has a hand in the stay in office of present leadership of the party at the national level, which will expire in the next 3-4 weeks. When another leadership comes on board, he will have his own day. But the thing is this, it's not even about whether Wike did or where. We are talking about what happened in Benue State, where the people of Benue State, in their wisdom, have decided to suspend somebody that chose to bring the state to disrepute. I'm telling you, apart from anti-party activities, which even Wike and co played, this one reduced the office of the governor of Benue State to that of a servant.
No, I think
he practically relocated to Benue to Port Harcourt. No.
Makinde was practically going to to Port Harcourt, right? Look, and they call it that our son.
No. The only person
call him our son. Why? Because he's married to
from Nigeria. The only person, the only PDP leader that behaved like a servant to Wike in the build-up to the 2023 election happens to be Dan Obie, the South Vice Chairman of the PDP. What is his name? Makinde was in the G5, but he carried himself with some dignity. Even now, you can see that in the last ESCO meeting of PDP, he openly disagreed with Wike. These people have chosen; they have no honor, they have no respect to the office they occupy, and that's why you see the people pay them back the way they did. And sure, Labour Party will have won Benue State convincingly, if not because of Autumn's involvement in this state. If you look at Enugu State, you look at Abia State, we had the other two governors too submitted themselves to the dictates of Wike as their leader, even though they were not as subservient as Autumn. The people paid them back. The people of those states paid them back. And I was shocked
that just few weeks or 2 or 3 weeks ago, when Wike's wife was appointed to
the judges, one of the judges,
as one of the judges of the appeal court,
yes.
that these same characters had to come to his house, and they were singing and dancing. I think I posted something. Said, what about these charlatans chanting about the cleanliness of their hands? For a man that used you, people used you thoroughly and dumped you. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I'm still asking myself, in the days of Peter Odele, as the governor of Rivers State, would it have been possible for Odele, with all the money Rivers State had, to have got Akume, the present SGF, to be kowtowing to him as a houseboy? It wasn't possible. This person did not even understand the weight of the office he occupied on behalf of Benue State people. So apart from suspending him, they will go ahead to expel him from the party.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point. We hope they've gotten the message there. As Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed has relaxed the 24-hour curfew imposed on Katangum local government area of the state due to the escalating security concerns. The curfew has been relaxed to 12 hours. Gentlemen, let's just look at in terms of that story, and also the fact that the police has also, denied the shooting of any protester in Azare. Looking at this hunger protest, the fact that there's still killings and the police denying this, and Bala Mohammed also, accusing Mr. President of not, tackling the issues in his broadcast. Yeah. So if I want to respond to first the last question, not tackling the issue from his broadcast. Yes, almost everybody had criticized, the broadcast, right? Because for them, it fell, below expectation, right? If you look at it, yes, you can say it didn't directly address, the concerns of those protesting. But at the same time, yes, I know that the president had, opened that window for dialogue. But some people will say it's a passive door opening, it's not active. Do you think it's open when they're arresting those the conveners? Can you call that open dialogue? Yeah, so so you have to be a bit careful, when you are organizing protests. Protest has its own rules of engagement, right? So if you are organizing protests, if you, as the protest organizer, you are coordinating in a particular state, you need to also have representative across other states, so that you'll be able to control, the protesters that are under you, right? So that you can also be able to account for whatever is being done, most especially when you had before the protest, right, that there are going to be people who infiltrate the protesters and cause mayhem. Now, if you look at what has panned out, whether you want to say that somebody, introduced those bugs or introduced those, element of violence. Yeah, element of violence. If the protesters too were a bit organized, you would have been able to fish out. Let me give an example. Let's say, for instance, those coming out to protest. That's why it took time. You would have organized it in such a way that nobody will be able to infiltrate your protest. Can everybody who is protesting wear a reflective jacket that is carrying, the sign of, let's say, I've forgotten the hashtag end bad governance? Exactly. So if anybody who's not putting on that reflective jacket is not part of you, right? Then if everybody cannot also have the jacket, let it be that those wearing the jacket will form a ring around the protesters. So you know that, yes, the protesters are in clusters, and anything that happens to them at that point, you can now hold the security people responsible. Yes, I know that the security agents provoked the protesters, right? Because they were going about their protest in a lawful way until they started shooting, tear gas at them, which is condemnable, and everybody has condemned it, as the case may be. But for me, the fundamental question is, has the protest truly addressed the concerns? Yes, it has been able to elicit that response, but has it really delivered on the actual mandate that the protests really want to achieve? The answer is no. And the reason is because there has been this correlation that the protesters organizers are faceless. Even though they came out to identify themselves, to say they are not faceless, I felt that there would have been that channel of communication with government to say, look, yes, we want to dialogue with the government. While we are protesting, we are also seeking
that vehicle, that avenue to have that dialogue with government, so that we can look at some of these issues that has been put on ground. And what they would have done strategically is this: they would have been providing solutions as well, right? This is a strategic move, providing solution as well to some of those demands. And I will give an example. One, the government said that we are paying for subsidy. The government said we are doing direct sales, direct purchase, which means we are doing a swap. We give diesel, we get petrol. Now, they would have been asking those in-between questions to say, what is the difference of subsidy that we are paying? Are we paying for the product that is coming back into Nigeria, or we are paying for the cost of transportation that is bringing the product in? And at what landing cost? So how can you justify the landing cost against the swap that we are doing? If that is not the case, fine. Dangote has said that the refinery is up and running. You would have placed this demand to the government to say, as a way of not even bringing back subsidy, but solving the problem, is there a way you can give Dangote the crude to refine, right, for free of charge? Then you have a negotiation to say, you give us this product back, you can retain this product, or you give us this product back, tell us what it costs in refining it, then you net it out and settle. Then we know at what point will Dangote deliver it to all of the major marketers. You cannot drill down to say, okay, if this is the case, this is what we'll be doing going forward to peg a price at what we are currently, against what we are currently paying for. So if they had come with these concrete demands, with a solution, right, every Nigerian would have been pushing this forward, as opposed to almost all of those blanket demands that we have, which you and I know that majority of those things are unrealistic.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point, which still has to do with the national hunger protest, but this time involving Yahaya Bello denying the link with the anti-Tinubu protest. The media office of the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Alhaji Yahaya Bello, has refuted the claim that certain quarters that he is one of the sponsors of the ongoing #EndBadGovernance protest across the country. Let's look at that. Do you think this was a move like Yahaya Bello's team is, alluding that it looks like they did this to paint him in bad light? But is there any atom of maybe truth in it? That
Yahaya Bello, to the best of my knowledge, is not a factor in this whole thing. In fact, the government, it is even giving him cheap publicity. How can somebody who is running away from justice be talking about? If you think your hands are clean, you come out, take your plea in court. What they are calling you to come and do is to say, are you guilty of what you are being accused of or not? It's as simple as that. So let us forget about Yahaya Bello and their cause. This thing doesn't make any sense. I want to go to what my brother talked about. Yes. Let us remember, one of the few institutions that have not undergone any reformation, right from the very time our colonial masters put them in place, is the police. The Nigerian police exists essentially for regime protection. And that's the reason why whenever Nigerians feel uncomfortable with any policy of government, it is the police that Nigerians will have to confront first. So until police gets reformed to bring it in tune with global realities, we'll continue to face this. The first known hunger protest recorded in history was by the Israelis on their way to Egypt. When they complained of hunger, look, when somebody is hungry and the person is telling his leader, I am hungry, the best thing you do is to solve the problem of hunger. Every other thing will come. God himself, when the Israelis complained to Moses that we're hungry, and he saw that they were about to riot, he took it to God, and God said, hey, before anything, I'm taking you to the promised land. Don't forget, they told us that the promised land happened to be a land flowing with milk and honey. Yes. That means by the time they got to that place, it will be an El Dorado. But God had to solve the problem of hunger immediately by sending manna. People complained in Nigeria that we are hungry. And the president came to address Nigeria and telling us of what will happen when macroeconomic. What does that mean? It is only the living that will be alive to witness what we are talking about. The dead, somebody who is dead already by hunger, cannot get to the El Dorado you are promising us. And instead of doing that, you are telling us about how you have worked out a student loan, doing this. Is it not the living that goes to school?
Does that tell us how insensitive and probably government do not know?
There is no doubt.
Agree that there's hunger.
This sensitivity of our leaders has been laid bare by their reactions pre and post the protest. Look at the Senate president telling the protesters that you can go up and protest while we stay here and eat.
Can we say the Senate president has an issue with his comments? He has had loads of litany of very
unforced errors.
I think it's very unfortunate. I'm emphasizing it, very, very unfortunate that someone in his capacity, does not really know how to measure the content of what he, reads out to the public. Someone in his capacity, because I want to believe that Senate presidency is not his last. That is, for me, I'm thinking on his behalf. It's not his last ambition in terms of his political career. I mean, you will want to probably someday vie for the position of, the president in Nigeria. And all of these comments will come to haunt you, one day, because we are in the space of social media, where they will keep reminding you of comments you've made years back, to use it against you. So, and he has made several comments. Sometimes he even asks if he's on camera. That shows you how very immature. Because I just feel that it's someone of his capacity. I mean, people will even respect the Speaker of House of Reps compared to him, because he has conducted himself in a very civil and matured manner. I mean, the fact that, you occupy the position of authority does not necessarily make you a demigod. You don't come out and talk to people when we are having a very sensitive crisis in our hands. And I'm just, being careful of some words I actually want to use, because the truth is, everybody that is watching, first and foremost, sees you as a father, right? Then they see you as a leader. But from the way you talk, you don't really exhibit those qualities of a leader. And if you see that, if you even see some senators are already having that, bias towards him, and I think he should tread with care, because you never know what can happen. But if it's things that is sitting tight, he needs to think twice.
All right, that's for the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, to watch his litany of unforced errors, like my guests have said, in terms of his comment to Nigerians and to those he also said to the state governors. All right, let's move to the next talking point, talking about the reinstatement of Ali Ndume, as the APC had summoned Ali Ndume on Tuesday, summoned Ali Ndume to explain his recent utterances against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which led to his removal. And we also know that they're making an attempt to bring in, reinstate him back. Do you think this is happening very sudden? Some of the school of thought that this protest, they feel like the northern region is reacting more, aggrieved in this protest because of two of their lawmakers that have been suspended because of their comments on behalf of the Nigerian people, saying the government is not doing right, and they get suspended. But Ali Ndume has also come out to seem to stylishly apologize. What do you think is playing out?
I don't think so. I don't think that the North is... See, there's poverty. Anthony, look, you can come to the studio today to talk because you can pay for transportation, you have eaten. That's why you even have the strength to talk in the first place. A lot of people are hungry, Anthony. Look, I don't know about you, but you cannot imagine the amount of calls you receive at the end of the month, right? Where you send, someone you were sending 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira to before, you have to double it to 10,000 naira to 20,000 naira now. So even you, that you think you have a job and you are earning, you are also, going through that same pain. But those who are feeling the pain more are those at the last mile. I mean, if you look at everybody, those people on the street, if they had something doing, if they are engaged, if they were in school, you wouldn't have seen. So there's a fundamental problem in the North. And I feel the North needs to tackle its own problem internally first. Even because, and I'll be honest with you, no federal government will come be it a northerner in power today, no federal government will come and solve the northern problem. So the northern problem is a fundamental problem. And if it is not solved, it is snowballing now into a crisis that I don't think they will be able to handle. So the truth is, one, we've heard the statistic of out-of-school children. Those statistics are more in the north, most especially northeast and northwest, then north central, in that hierarchy. So, and successive governors have come to bring out different programs to see how they can say, okay, they don't want the Almajiri system, they want everybody to go back to school. And like my colleague said, you can only go to school if you have eaten. Now, the homegrown food program that, the humanitarian, you've seen all the, corruption that has actually played out there. I mean, during COVID-19, the then Minister of Humanitarian Affairs told us that they were feeding kids when everybody was at home. So Nigeria has turned into like a hula balloon where, it's like I'll call it tragic comedy. And I feel that if we don't do something urgent, right, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Trust me.
All right, still looking at the northern region and the reinstatement of Ali Ndume, the process. Let's look at the Northern Elders Forum have come out to say Abdullahi Ango, who is the chairman, has consistently said the president did not address the issues of the Northwest and the northern region, and they feel slighted by Mr. President. How dangerous is this move? Because in our next discourse, our next talking point has to do with Sheikh Hussaini saying he knows how the Senate President can be removed from office. That's our next talking point. No. I want you to look at it from that point of view.
Whatever any person may say about Ali Ndume, I'm not his fan. But I must concede to him that he has been very consistent.
He speaks true to power.
He speaks true to power. He did it under Jonathan. He did it to Jonathan during his presidency. He did it to Buhari. In fact, he happens to be one of the few northerners to have spoken to Buhari, to have spoken true to power during Buhari's presidency. That he's doing it now is not coming to me as a surprise. Unfortunately, we are in a place where, according to Dino Melaye, you speak the truth, you die. You don't speak the truth, you die, whatever. But I must concede to him that he has been very consistent. Now, as for what happens in the north, or what the erudite professor Ango Abdullahi is saying about the president not addressing the northern problems and so on and so forth. He's not being fair to the president.
Why?
Let's be very honest. Like my colleague said, if you look at Maiduguri, for instance, which was made the capital of the northeastern state in 1976, that is 48 years ago, that we are talking about that enclave housing a sizable chunk of our out-of-school children is very, very unfortunate. Because you can see that from 1976 till date, there have been colossal amount of money budgeted for education and education-related activities. You look at Sokoto, for instance, the same thing. You look at so many other places where we have these out-of-school children. You'll be asking yourself, what has been happening to the monies budgeted by these states for decades? So when we talk of corruption and people only get fixated on the federal government, they miss the point.
All right. Let's move to the next talking point for the want of time. Sheikh Hussaini tells senators how to impeach Godswill Akpabio, same like what we said initially. Now that the talk is brewing as regards to moving Godswill Akpabio and Sheikh Hussaini making that speech still from the northern part of the country, do you think this is a grand plan to remove him from that position?
Well,
and is the Northern Caucus or the Northern Bloc right in this move?
No. If you look at how he even emerged, right, and the people he contested against, don't forget that you have oppositions, right, that are against you. So fundamentally, what I was thinking of is, one, apart from the conduct of the Senate president, right, and his utterances, what are those things you can point out to say he has fundamentally done to checkmate the executive? Because everybody is saying that the legislators, as we have them today, are rubber stamp,
yeah.
Right? And there are people, even in the same party, just like Indume has echoed, to, say that they said they are, what's it called? According to them, they say he had called them thieves, right? So, but if you look at the Senate as it's constituted today, it lacks that ambience that we used to have, in successive administration. Last administration, there was still some element of, even if you want to call it a cosmetic surgery approach, there was still some element of criticism here and there, and they were able to, war and judge with the executive. But what you have today is, okay, anything that comes from executive is immediately given attention. In split seconds, it's passed into law. And people are seeing that, they are saying, okay, fine. Items that have to do with the comfort of the elites passes through quickly, but the one that has to do with the masses, the last mile, really have, challenges, So, and let me say something very fundamental. You see, in politics, they always say that there is no permanent friend, but permanent interest.
Yes.
Trust me, if Akpabio continues in this state, if the power that be knows that he might compromise them, they will sacrifice him. So he has to be very, very careful. If he doesn't understand the trend or the trajectory of Nigerian politics, then he should go back to memory lane on how Senate presidents were changed up to the time of Okadigbo. And we went straight to Kenny Namani. So he needs to watch out.
Jerome, do you agree with him on that on the final notes?
Seriously, it is in the interest of the party to take a second look at the presidency of the Senate under Godswill Akpabio. I call it an unforced error, because he seems to be using his mouth faster than his head. Look at what he said. When a man and his wife and his only son died, and you came to that place,
the funeral service,
and you felt the best thing you would do was to do politics. Any opportunity he has, he considers himself, is he Mr. President's campaign DG or Mr. President's cheerleader? I don't know what he thinks of himself, but he's becoming an embarrassment to the party and the government. And I don't even think, Shehu Sani because Shehu Sani added a caveat. Whoever is going to move this will know that if you fail, you are likely to be suspended till the end of the term. But it's important that the party, hoping that they believe that it is people's votes that they will need in 2027, it is in their interest to take a second look at his occupancy of that seat.
All right, well said. The message to the Senate President Godswill Akpabio: be careful or you will be shown the way out. Shehu Sani has already laid down the gauntlet. Let's see how this pan out. I want to say a big thank you to Jerome Azuboko, a columnist in the Federal Capital Territory. Thank you for joining us on the desk today with your very fantastic analysis. And also, Issa Ali Shatta, always a pleasure having him with his analysis and giving us a very clear analogy on ways and why decisions and his point of views. Thank you, gentlemen, for making it on the desk.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's how we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program. My name is Anthony Momodu, saying thank you for being part of today's edition. Tomorrow promises to be better.
Yeah, trying to become...